Well, hello there. My name is Lenny Hernandez, and I'm the host of Arrow's Diversity and Inclusion Speaker Series. The purpose of this series, if you didn't know, is to provide information, insight, and empathy into experiences, walks of life, and causes that many of us may not have previously had the opportunity to learn about. Our job here at Arrow is to build community, and ensuring that everyone feels understood and welcomed is one of the most important aspects of that job. And we believe that that doesn't just stop at our front doors. Today, I'd like to introduce to you Mary Zhu, the founder and executive director of Develop for Good. She sat down with Rose Marie, a resident at Vitalia Solon, for a discussion about volunteering. They talk about the personal benefits of volunteering, unique ways that people can use their skills for others, how it can impact society, and so much more. This is a great conversation, so please enjoy.
Volunteering can be a great way to integrate into a community and a society and for really care for other people and have other people care for you.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another incredible episode of our Diversity and Inclusion Speaker Series. My name is Lenny Hernandez. I'm the host today, and I have two special guests who are going to rock this conversation. We have the founder of Develop for Good, Mary Zhu. Hello, Mary.
Hello, it's so nice to meet everyone.
Hello. And then we have a resident at Vitalia Active Adult Community, Solon, Rose Marie.
Hello, nice to be here.
And we are talking about volunteerism. Mary, why don't you start us off? What is it? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what is it that we're talking about today?
Yeah, for sure. So I can just quickly introduce myself. So as Lenny mentioned, I'm the founder of Develop for Good, and we are a nonprofit organization that connects college engineers and designers that are volunteers to work on technical projects for nonprofits under the mentorship of industry professionals in tech. So we've worked with around 1,400 different volunteers over the past 3 years. And so after just like being engaged in sort of the nonprofit and volunteering space, I kind of have a sense of how I like to describe volunteering. When people think of volunteering, the first thing that they think of is like offering your time and skills to support people or causes in need, which is definitely true. But what people don't realize is that volunteering is a two-way relationship, because it's also a way for people or the volunteers themselves to gain fulfillment or even new skills and valuable relationships from doing good for other people.
That sounds wonderful, and I wish that I could have started a company or done something special as you have done. But anytime you volunteer, it's special because you're doing something for the community or something for yourself. And what you give out, you definitely receive in the meantime. And so I have just found a way to volunteer from the time I was a child, not knowing it was volunteering. Just did things for neighbors and friends. And next thing I knew, somebody said, well, you really are a volunteer. And at that time, I didn't know what volunteering meant. But it's just a way that makes you feel so good because you don't know how many people you touch when you do something for them, especially if they don't expect it. And you walk away making friendships, making long lasting memories, and it's a fulfillment for both of you.
I agree. It's really heartwarming to hear that you were able to take the initiative to just do good things for other people without needing someone to coordinate it. I think that's like really one of the purest ways to volunteer. Um, yeah, so I guess the second another thing that I was wondering about was How have you seen volunteering change over the years? So since you were volunteering as a child to throughout your life, how have you seen it change?
Well, I don't think volunteerism has changed. I think the people's attitudes have changed. And I think people now are more free to give themselves, especially as someone who, like me, I'm in a senior living facility now. My life has changed so that I have time. I have a few things that interest me, and so I can pursue them more easily now. Um, it's just, I think what is special to you helps someone else.
I definitely agree. Yeah. I think, yeah, I kind of like how you phrased it that way. I think volunteering, I've noticed volunteering, I guess kind of change as society and as like technical, I guess like innovations have also just influenced all facets of society, as well as how nonprofits are run and how volunteers engage with nonprofits and helping others.
That's
Um,
exactly right.
yeah, like I feel like now there's like a lot of platforms out there that sort of are enable people to, um, I guess, explore volunteering opportunities that they would have never seen before. And people can now volunteer for organizations or for causes like across the world, virtually, um,
Mhm.
which I think is something that, at least even when I was a child, when I thought of volunteering, it was just with like local like food banks or local
Yeah,
like libraries. But now I think it's just evolved um like greater accessibility and
exactly.
flexibility.
Well, I think too that the internet has opened up to volunteerism. If you look on the internet and look specifically for volunteerism, you'll find a million things that you never knew existed, because most people feel it's a community, it's a school, it's a library, or some little institution around your home. It doesn't have to be. You can be at home and still volunteer miles away. And so, if anybody wants to get started, that's a perfect way to find a little information about how to go about it and what to do and how to make it fun for you too.
Exactly, exactly. Rosemary, I'm curious, what are some of the benefits that you've received from volunteering personally, as well as potentially benefits that you've seen other people gain from just like donating their time to help other people?
Well, I volunteer. The last big volunteering project that I did was for hospice. And I started out very slowly. Um, my husband was a patient at hospice, and so I learned a little bit about it. And then when he passed away, I decided that I needed something to do, and I turned to the hospice volunteer person. And at the time, I started out doing just visiting nursing homes, people who were homebound, um, doing simple little things. Sometimes just a visit, a cup of coffee with someone who was lonely was wonderful. And it just made me feel good that I would leave and they'd give me a hug. Well, they did more for me sometimes than I felt I did for them. So really, it works both ways. What you give, you get in return.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so heartwarming to hear. I think even just like a little bit of appreciation also just goes a long way for the person that's giving. And I guess like in my experience, particularly with the organization that I run now, um, as the students are working on sort of helping different nonprofits with their technical needs, like
Mhm.
helping them create new designs for their websites or helping them like build like apps, which is something that a lot of nonprofits are starting to like develop internal technology to better serve their beneficiaries. The
Mhm.
students are also getting a lot of valuable experience from just being able to work on a real world project that affects real people everywhere. And to also just get that like hands-on experience that's also really valuable for their own career goals and their own um, life goals. So I think like when there are specifically like, well, when there are volunteering opportunities that I guess really align with what the people themselves are really passionate about, or what they're really interested in, those like two-way impact, like the two-way impact is really magnified. And then when I guess like the nonprofits like tell the students that, wow, like your project that you helped us develop has gone on to serve like thousands of people this year. It's like
Mhm.
the most fulfilling feeling for our students to know that like their skills are being put to really good use. Um, yeah,
I
it's
think
really,
it's
it's really
wonderful,
cool to see.
especially since you're so young and you've done something that's so important. And yeah, I'm it makes me feel proud to even talk to you because it's a very touching thing that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rosemary. And it's really touching to hear about um, just like the genuine like human connections that you've made while volunteering yourself. Um, I guess how do you think volunteering makes an impact in society from like I guess like a very high level?
Well, I think it's an individual thing. Volunteering is not for everyone, obviously, but those who do, it fulfills a different need for each person. For me, it's just being with someone who maybe is lonely, frightened, needs somebody to maybe talk to, cry with. I mean, really, truly, I've had all those experiences, and it's just been more honestly fulfilling for me at times. So, yeah, I wouldn't give it up for anything, and I just hope that more people would realize that something as a simple little gift like that, it makes such a difference in someone's life, and it affects both of you.
I definitely agree. Yeah, and I think I totally agree with like the perspective that it really changes I guess the individual person at their core and fosters like a sense of compassion and a value for compassion. And I think like I'm really happy to see that like in like I guess American culture and society, like volunteering and that value of compassion is something that's really I guess seen as important and as a really positive value in someone. Um, whether it's like someone that you're looking to be a friend with or to hire or to like be in a relationship with, like just having that sense of compassion is a really like valuable
Mhm,
characteristic. And I think as that kind of like fosters a sense of like purpose and reinforces
yes.
like, social cohesion from
Yes,
just a communal and societal point of view, and like I guess passes down for future generations just this really like I guess like this really valuable sense of compassion that you want to instill in like future generations by sort of setting the example as like I guess like as you're sort of like yeah, I guess like as you yourself um, find ways to help other people. So
exactly. And when you volunteer, especially in my case, volunteering with individual people, you get to meet their families. And it's amazing how you just become friends. You're no longer there as a person who's helping, but you really feel like you belong to the family. And um, it's just I don't know, it's just a feeling that makes you feel good too. And I'm just pleased and proud that I can do it. And I've been asked many times, how do you find time? Well, sometimes you have to do the things you want to do and you find time to do them. And even if you have a family or a job and you're out working and you come home and you're tired, if you want to do it, you find the time. And that's what volunteerism is.
exactly, I agree with that. I definitely agree with like just like the view that like if something is important enough to you,
Mhm.
you'll make time for it. And I think
Exactly.
like sometimes helping other people isn't easy, but if you value it enough, like you will be able to fit it in your life regardless of how busy you are. Um,
Mhm.
But I guess one of the really cool things that has happened recently as like volunteering and helping other people and making an impact is becoming more mainstream and more valued in just culture in our
I
culture
think,
that like nowadays like at companies there's this thing called like corporate social responsibility. Like the impact that a company has on society is now becoming increasingly important for the company's image, as well as like factored into like things like their stock price and that sort of thing. So I think like even like big companies and industries are catching on to the importance of like making sure that their company's activities are making a positive impact in the world. So
Mhm.
nowadays, like a lot of companies actually encourage working professionals to make time to volunteer by giving them
Yes.
paid time off to volunteer their skills for a nonprofit, or just giving them like recognition within the company for volunteering,
Mhm.
or even dedicating full days to having all of their entire workforce to go out and like
Yeah.
like paint I guess like paint the walls of a school or like clean up a garden. So now like there's a lot of ways for working professionals to work to give back to the community even through their company because of just how I guess this like view in society is like
Yeah.
really
Right now,
changing.
see, in your case, you're asking people uh, who have professional skills to give back, and they don't have to be paid what they do, but it's a nice way for them to continue doing something in their field and still make a difference. But in my case, we're just ordinary housewives who decided, hey, making a cookie is fine, but let's share it with someone. And so there are different reasons to volunteer, different ways to volunteer, and it all makes a difference.
Absolutely. I agree. And volunteering also doesn't have to be like a solo thing too. Like there are definitely
Right.
ways to volunteer with your friends and family in
Right.
like a more group setting. Like I love the example of like baking a cookie. And like in the past, like one of my favorite ways to volunteer was just getting with my friends and just baking cupcakes or cookies or like cakes
Mhm.
and stuff for like bake sales. With the money going to like support really important causes. And
Yeah.
it can be really fun to just like do something together with and like sort of foster relationships that are important in your life while helping people in the same at the same time. So
Exactly. Well, let me tell you about cookies. My husband was a patient of hospice for many weeks, and when he died, it was just, I was left alone. He was ill for many years, and I kind of dropped everything to take care of him. But when I went back with some donations a few weeks after the funeral, I happened to run into the volunteer coordinator. And I just kind of said, I'm looking for something to do. And that morning, I had been in my living room drinking a cup of coffee and saying some prayers. And I said, God, you've got to help me because I don't know where to begin. I've lost contact with everything and everyone, and you have to guide me. Well, don't you know, when I bumped into her and I told her this, she said, just this morning, we had a meeting and we thought it would be nice to have a once a month Tuesday tea at 10. Would you be interested? And I said, are you kidding? This is me. This is me. So for 12 years, my friend and I did all the baking, and we had a Tuesday once a month tea at 10. And it was the best way for me to get involved. But then hospice came along. But yeah, cookies, cakes, anything personal will just make such a difference. People from their guests would come to have a cup of coffee. The patients, if they could, would come. The police would come in and have a cup of coffee. It was just a personal experience for me, and I loved it. So, see what a simple cookie can do.
that's so sweet. Oh my goodness. That really that is such a that's such a sweet story. Like figuratively and literally. That's
Yeah.
honestly amazing. I guess, yeah, I guess related to that story is how have you seen like I guess your peers find ways to volunteer? So like seniors in your community and like friends. What are some ways that you've seen them volunteer?
Well, in my case, it just wasn't hard because it seems as though I wanted to. Some people, maybe they think about it, but they don't do anything about it, where I wanted to. So it was easy, and I became involved in the community and school and, church. Uh, there are just so many ways. And as I said, the internet will help people find their way.
Definitely. Yeah. I think some of my earliest volunteer memories were also through my church. And yeah, I definitely think that there are just like a lot of avenues to find ways for anyone to volunteer. I guess for myself personally, some of the folks on that I seek advice from, like on our advisory board, or just different people that have wanted to help with like the organization that I'm building and leading now, like they're pretty senior and they have had so much experience throughout their life that it's just been really like just like their wisdom passed on to like me and to other people has just been invaluable because there's just so much I guess through like lived experience that you can teach others regardless of sort of what career path or what specific thing you've done, just like the lived experience of dealing with different types of people, different difficult situations, and just like passing on like values like resilience and compassion and even just like problem solving is has been really valuable. And I think yeah, so I think like there's
Well,
a lot.
I can see that in you. You just look like a person who is giving and willing to help, and it just, and I think those are people that are just meant to be volunteers. And you are. I can just see it.
Thank you so much. Um, and I guess you gave a personal example of volunteering with like the tea time and like the cakes and cookies. How have you seen volunteering, I guess, change lives, either for the volunteer or for those they're helping in other contexts?
Well, it all kind of, you can roll it into a ball, all the things that we've said. And obviously has different meaning for different people. But I was curious, how did you start your organization? What prompted you to do this, and that in particular?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for asking. So I guess I was a junior in college when I started this organization. So I went to Stanford to study computer science. And in my junior year, which was in spring 2020, the pandemic hit. And then all college students, like there was a mass exodus of college students leaving like campus to go home because like we were being kicked off and everything had to be virtual for everyone's safety for the pandemic. But at the same time, there's just like a lot of turmoil going on with like students had a lot of their summer jobs like canceled. Like college activities were also being canceled because like like our organizations just weren't really equipped to run like the regular programming like virtually. Um, and students were just being isolated at home without the social interaction that they normally had with their peers, which is really sort of like really special in the college experience. Um,
Mhm.
and at the same time, nonprofits everywhere were also facing a lot of trouble. So it was projected that a third of global nonprofits would shut down because a lot of nonprofits aren't like I guess like aren't equipped to like run their operations virtually and to like handle volunteers virtually and to serve their beneficiaries virtually. So a lot of nonprofits were just like struggling as well.
So, what
And
kind of issues did you face starting the organization? That couldn't have been easy.
yeah, it was definitely like a lot of work. So after we sort of identified these two problems with nonprofits needing help and students looking for meaningful ways to fill their time, we noticed that, okay, maybe like these two problems can like solve each other by sort of connecting them. So I like cold emailed and cold called like hundreds of nonprofits to interview them and to understand what their needs were, specifically any like of their technical needs. And then after identifying some opportunities for technical students to plug in and help, I went to Stanford's like computer science mailing list and just blasted opportunities for students to sign up to help a nonprofit with their technical skills. And in that first like month, so in like April 2020, so literally like 3 years ago exactly, we had like around 15 students work on 3 projects with 3 different nonprofits. And then after that, like I sat in on every meeting to try to understand the dynamics and to understand how, I guess how to like sort of conduct like this sort of engagement and relationship for it to feel as meaningful as possible to the student volunteers, as well as for it to be as genuinely effective as possible for the nonprofits they were helping. And since then, we've just sort of taken off, and we've worked with around 100 nonprofit projects with over 1,400 student volunteers. And we started getting like tech companies to also pitch in with like helping fund some of our operations and offer their industry professionals to mentor the students as they worked on the projects. So
You certainly are dedicated, and you put in a lot of time and effort. I can tell just listening to you and what you've accomplished with it. So congratulations.
thank you, thank you.
So see, people just don't realize what you can do if you have a mission, and you certainly did.
Thank you so much. It definitely wouldn't have been possible without just like without like honestly, it wasn't me. It was all the volunteers that did it. It's really
Right? But someone had to have an idea. It had to start somewhere.
thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot. Um, and yeah, and I guess like with that, some of the ways that I've seen students like the student volunteers' lives really get touched. We once had like this young woman, she was a junior or senior in college. Like her mother had actually, so she was matched as like a team lead to work on a website design project for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, which is this nonprofit that does like cancer research. And she had told us and shared that her mother had actually been a patient at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute previously. So it was like doubly meaningful for her to be able to work on a project that would really help that specific nonprofit organization after it had done so much to help her family as well. So it was really just like reinforcing the idea that helping other people is really a two-way relationship that just kind of like cycles around and around. And yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to see like these things happen. Um,
But you can see what one idea can lead to. And that's what volunteering is. If you put your heart and soul into it, you can make it special for everyone.
Thank you. I agree. I guess I'm really curious. So through like the organization that I run, like a lot of students are surprised to see that there's a way to volunteer that is really interesting and fun and exciting to them because they're currently studying technology, whether it's coding or design, and they're able to like sort of apply those skills directly. So I guess like throughout your life, what like fun or interesting volunteer opportunities have you come across that are really unique?
Well, just working for the community. I lived in a little town called Mayfield Village, Ohio, and it was small. It was only, my niece always referred to it as a 2-by-2 town because it was about 2 miles wide and 2 miles long. And but every town, every organization needs help. And I started out with the Christmas tree ceremony one year, and it was such fun that led to something else in the community, and the next things something else. And then my children were in high school, and I decided I would volunteer there. And so every step was a different adventure. Every step I met people and learned something new about whatever it was that I was doing. It just became the way I live.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
And really now I'm kind of on a hiatus. I moved to this facility, and so far I haven't found a niche, but I will.
That's great to hear. It's really inspiring to hear that you made it. It's so like it was so deeply embedded in your life that it was just kind of like normal and everyday.
Yeah. You
And
know, it didn't seem like an effort to me. And I live here and it's such a quiet, nice place to live. And I've started doing a little baking here. And so that gave me a few new friends over the Easter holiday. And, um, so I'm going to continue to do what I can, certainly not quite, as frequently as I did, but little by little get back into things.
that's great. Yeah. It's so like genuinely inspiring to hear that like it has become like it's like such like an important part of your life and that you love it so much.
Mhm.
And I feel like if everyone were to adopt that attitude, like the world would look really different. And I think it's really up to people who are already engaged in volunteering to also sort of like lead by example and to sort of, yeah, so I guess like to show other people like the power of volunteering. Um,
Mhm.
like you're, I guess like on the people that you're helping and also on yourself. Like I think there's like a lot of studies actually that show that
Yes.
volunteering, like in addition to all of those like sort of like values-based feelings that you get, it also like improves like someone's like both physical and mental health just by helping others. Because
Exactly.
when you're
Exactly.
happier, like you're healthier and everything's just better and the world is better.
Yeah, really. And with the hospice experience, you're dealing with life and death. And you have to treat everyone individually because everybody has a different feeling about death and dying and how to say goodbye. Where hospice just lets all of these happen naturally, and they're counseling there to help you. And just, I used to go to hospitals when people had no one there to help them. And if you would just ask them, can I say a little prayer with you? Can I just sit and hold your hand? Just a smile. Sometimes they couldn't speak anymore, but it was such a gratifying feeling. And they would try so hard to be grateful and to say thank you. Well, do you know what that does for the person who is there doing it? I, I I really, truly, people who have not had that experience have missed a lot.
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's genuinely such a heartwarming thing to hear about. I think it like to be there for someone when they don't really have anyone else, I think is something that really like goes beyond and like touches the soul. So I think that's super special and that's really inspiring.
But what you're doing is just as special, but in a different way.
I was
So,
gonna say it's so interesting to hear the dichotomy of the situations in which we're talking about volunteering. Like um Rosemary, you're talking about the a lot of the things that you're talking about is feeding the soul by you putting yourself out there, which of course, Mary, you're talking about that as well, but you're almost on the career path of volunteering, while Rosemary, you're talking about the like, just making sure that you're
an everyday person.
you're yeah, exactly. You're doing the everyday uh situation of volunteering. And I love this conversation because it hits home with me because my mother worked in hospice. My mother worked in at Catholic Charities, which is a nonprofit, for years and
Yes.
years and years. Uh,
Yes.
she works nonprofit currently, still providing. Um, she helps find people places that they need. Um, and so it's super interesting. And how me moving very recently to a new much smaller town, now how I've found myself volunteering my time with teens and youth, just to be,
Yeah.
they ask questions and I can help them figure out things for them, and it's so
But
interesting. And
but
I didn't.
don't you feel like you are now part of that town? You have a reason to belong because you're volunteering, you're helping them, but you don't think of that. You think that, I'm just going out to have fun. You're volunteering, you're
It's
making a difference in your life as well as someone else's.
it's funny because I'm now in a town. I came from Los Angeles, which is a town of a county of 15 million, and then now I'm in a town of 8,000. And so it's been quite a difference.
So you
But
should know everyone.
so what I was gonna say, yes, Rosemary, what I'm gonna say is that like now when I go to the grocery store, I'll run
See?
into somebody and they'll be like, Lenny, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like
Yeah.
I haven't had that happen to me in for
Oh,
15 years almost.
that's good for you.
So such a great conversation. Mary, is there anything else that you can think of that we might have forgotten to kind of touch base on in this conversation?
Yeah, I guess like one final thought about volunteering is that I think there are a lot of misconceptions about volunteering, like that it's a sacrifice of time, it's unpleasant, and it's a lot of work, and you have to like set aside like valuable time to like do something for someone else. Um, and I think there's also like the misconception that it's only like really like boring manual jobs that you wouldn't enjoy. But I think like volunteering can be like as Rosemary like beautifully put it, it can be really fun. It can be a great way to integrate into like a community and a society and for really care for other people and have other people care for you. It's a way that you can live your life like in a very fulfilling and meaningful way that aligns with your own passions and skills and goals. And that I guess like yeah, it's just super meaningful to yourself as well as to the people that you're helping. And it's not something to like approach reluctantly or like it's really something that is it's really like a beautiful phenomenon, I think. Just like altruism and compassion and just like building that two-way relationship. Um, and yeah, I think it was really, really wonderful, Rosemary, to talk to you and to hear about your personal experiences and
It
how
was my pleasure, truly, to speak with you, and I wish you great success. I know you will be, you are, and it will continue to grow, and it will give you great pleasure, really.
thank you so
Thank
Where
you.
can we find you, Mary, if we're trying to look up your organization, how do we find it?
So it's just developforgood.org. Yeah.
Short and sweet, straight to the
That's
point there. Such a great conversation on volunteerism. Rosemary, thank you so much. Mary Zhu, founder of Develop for Good. Thank you all. And until next time, go out there and do some good, people. Volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think to myself, what a wonder